This lesson, what we're going to be talking about is solving single-step equations when we have multiply or divide. Previously, we've talked about solving a single-step equation when we have a plus or minus. Again, solving a single-step equation is where we are taking an equation and solving for the variable that is within. So let's look and start this single-step equation. When we solve a single-step equation, we learned yesterday the easiest way to keep track of what we're doing is to make a divider line at our equal sign. This just helps us keep track of what's on the left and what's on the right. It helps us keep track of where our two sides are. So, we learned that our first step when solving a single step equation is look for a plus or minus on the side with x. So, we look at the equation. 4 times x, no plus or minus, so we can move to our second step. Now, our second step is this. After we look for our plus or minus, if we don't find one, or we find one and cancel it, we now look for a multiply or divide on the side with x. Alright, so let's look at this equation. 4 times x equals 16. We have a multiply. Now, it's not written right here is a multiply. When you have a number next to a variable, it's an understood multiply. So there's no reason to write that. So you will see it as a number next to a variable. Just like when we find a plus or minus, we're going to cancel it using the opposite function. The opposite of multiply is divide. So to cancel out our 4, we are going to divide by 4. Now, when we divide by 4 on the left side, or the side with x, we also have to divide by 4 on the other side. So this is what we end up with. Now, a lot of times when we did our plus and minus, what happens when we do the opposite is we cancel to 0. This isn't necessarily the case with multiply and divide though. Because of this reason. 4 divided by 4 as a fraction does not equal 0. Because 4 out of 4 as a fraction equals 1 whole. This is 4 parts out of 4. That's not 0, it is 1. So what we actually have when we multiply or divide, we're not canceling to 0, we are canceling to 1. So this becomes 1x. We divide 16 by 4 and we get 4. Now, this says that 1x equals 4. The 1 that we have is not necessary. This is not necessary to write because the fact that we have an x indicates that there is 1 there. So we would get rid of our 1 and we end up with x equals 4. Alright? So that's how we do it if we have a multiply. Let's look at an example if we have a divide. X divided by 3 equals 3. Okay? So again, to start our equation, we're going to write our dotted line down the middle so that we can determine our two sides. Just keep track of it. So we go through our steps. If we follow our steps every time, we'll never miss anything. And it's especially important to know your steps when we get into solving multi-step equations because you have to follow them exactly. So, look for a plus or minus on the side with x. Do we have a plus or minus? X divided by 3. No. So, we don't have to cancel it. Second step is look for a multiply or a divide on the side with x. So, do we have a multiply? No. But we have a divide. This bar here is a divide. So, we're going to cancel it by using the opposite sign. So, the opposite side of divide is multiply. So, what we're going to do is we're going to multiply both sides by the number we are dividing by. So, the number we're dividing by is 3. So you might think, well, how does this 3 here cancel this divided by 3 here? Well, if we were to write the number 3 as a fraction, it would be 3 over 1. So let's substitute that in here, 3 over 1. Well, now my 2 3's can cancel from top and bottom. So that leaves me with x over 1. Well, anything over 1 is the number on top, so that leaves me with x equals 3 times 3 is 9. All right, so that has been solving single-step equations using a multiply or divide. On our next lesson, we're going to talk about making multi-step equations easier to solve. Thank you.